Gukesh's first game as the world champion was a crazy game against Anish Giri in round one of the Tata Steel Masters 2025. Gukesh starts with knight f3, the repi, knight f6, g3, d5, bishop comes out, c5, castles, knight comes in, and d4. So we call this the King's Indian attack. You give up the center and then challenge it or take it. e6, c4, takes, and queen a4, taking back the pawn with the queen. Bishop moves, takes, and queen takes e4. Bishop e7, knight c3, castles e4. Rook c8, queen moves, bishop moves, and bishop g5. So the development is complete. All the pieces have come out. White has got a little bit more control of the center with pawns, and there's the open file for white to work with, even the c file. Black has got the c file as well. Black has got an active bishop over here. So here things take a very interesting turn. Anish Giri plays h6, expecting the bishop to either take or maybe go back to f4 or e3. But Gukesh goes for bishop to h4, allowing g5, and Giri goes for this. Let's see how much time it took. He took almost 30 minutes and played g5. How much time did Gukesh take for this? He had decided before, he just took 4 minutes. G5, the idea being sacrificing the piece for two pawns and the attack. But where is the attack? Giri plays e5, opening up the route for the bishop and stopping f4 from happening easily and stopping e5. So, where is Gukesh's attack coming from? What can he do here? Is f4 possible? No, it's pinned. So you'll have to prepare it with king h1, and that will take time. And knight g4, I mean, the bishop can go back by the time you play king h1. So what to do here? Gukesh goes for the correct move, queen d2. And here the idea that he has got is if you move the bishop, there is takes and then the piece hangs. So you can't do that. You'll have to remove the pin and then you can bring the bishop to h6 and the queen to g5. So the attack is there. The Giri goes bishop e7, bishop h6, and Giri has to give up the exchange. He cannot play rook e8 because of mate coming. So king h7 takes. So material wise, it's two pieces for black for the rook and two pawns. So it seems a fair deal, like it's comfortable for white. But the two pieces can be much more useful in the middle game. So here the computer prefers black a little bit. F4 was played, a very natural move. And now knight d5. Of course, you don't want to exchange queens. Knight b4. Things become chaotic here. Pawn takes pawn. Knight g4. Rook d1 and king h8. So here it's a very complicated position. If you play knight takes knight, for example, in this position, you'll take back and the pawns are too strong. You can't take back. It's a very strong position. Bishop c5 doesn't do anything. King h1. So it's a very difficult position for especially black to play. So here king h1 was played. The correct decision here after king h8. Let's see what is the main move for white. Yeah, king h1. It shows it's a blunder, but it's not. It's the best move actually, if you check the moves. So basically, you're going out of bishop c5, rook c2, and all these threats. The king is parking itself. So you might think, why not rook c2 directly? Why? What does it need to play king h8? Because there is this beautiful knight f6 check, opening up a discovered attack on the queen. So you'll have to give up your queen, and then the material becomes better for white. So that is why king h8 was played by Anish, and Gukesh goes for king h1, a sensible move. Rook c2, and queen goes to f4. Knight takes, pawn take. I mean, pawn takes would be allowing bishop takes, and you can't take back. If you do this, takes, you can't take because rook h2 is coming. King g1 and bishop c5. Black wins. So the bishop is pinned to the h pawn, which means black pieces become very active here. It's still not over. You'll have to give up your exchange here. I mean, the bishop is pinned, so for now it's okay. But still, it's a very complicated position to go and do for white. So let's go back. So Gukesh went queen f3, not taking back the piece. So now, if yeah, the knight is anyway pinned, so you can take it any time, right? So it's a sensible move as well. But Anish is in a good position here. He plays Queen B6, which makes sense, getting out of the pin, ready to move the knight. But now Gugesh takes, and you can't take back. The Queen is defending it. So now it suddenly feels comfortable for Gugesh. But Rook F2. This was Anish's idea. Rook F2, Queen moves to C3, and now Bishop B4. There was Bishop F5 activating the bishop, saving the bishop. But okay, he goes for Bishop B4, Queen moves, and now there's no time to move the bishop. The Queen is coming in. So is there time to save it? Yeah, he has to save the bishop. But now the Queen comes in with threats along the H file. Bishop F8, Queen H4, Bishop blocks, and here Gugesh plays Rook E1, preparing to push the E pawn and preparing to take here. But you can't take right away, yeah? Rook takes, knight takes, king moves, and discovered attack. So queen takes b2, and now h3 was played, and this is where Anish played a very nice move, bishop to e4. And here it feels like Gugesh is in trouble because if you take, there is a beautiful mate. The queen just wants to come to h2, so just take and then queen h2 checkmate, which means the exchange of bishops is going to happen, but there's a threat on the g2 square right now. So what will he do? What can Gugesh do here? He goes rook takes rook, knight takes back, king g1, and this is where Anish had a very tough win, which was the point of putting bishop to e4. All the pieces are active, and this was the moment to strike. But unfortunately, they were both in time pressure, especially Anish, who had only 41 seconds. He had 41 seconds to find out the win. So, can you guys figure out what is the correct move here for black to win? Let me switch off the computer. Sorry. The idea here is knight g4 with the mate threat on g2. But then you might think if knight g4, rook can take, right? But now queen b6, another mate threat coming. If king goes here, mate, and if king goes here, there's queen b1 and checkmate. But then you don't have to play knight g4 directly. You can play queen d8 first. I mean, after knight g4, that is, you can play queen d8, and after king g7, you can take. Now there's no queen b6. The queen is covering it. So now where's the win? So here, after after knight g4, queen d8, king g7, rook takes bishop, you go directly queen c1, and after bishop f1, you bring your bishop in. And if king g2, you bring your queen in, and after king moves, there's a mate on h2. So you can understand this is not easy to see with 41 seconds on the clock. So instead of knight g4, which must have been very tempting for Anish to play, he played queen b6, threatening this. But it was a blunder. He had completely missed probably that Gugesh can just shut down the game with queen f6, forcing an exchange. So very unfortunate blunder there by Gugesh in time pressure, and after the exchange of queens, it's just over. So takes. It's a rook for two pieces, but too many pawns. It's two pawns extra, and this pawn is too strong. This pawn is also too strong, and king is active. Knight moves, rook check, king moves, and the pawn pushes. Knight comes to stop the pawn, but the rook attacks it. Knight moves, rook attacks it, and the pawn is going forward. And f7 is hanging. And here Anish Giri resigned. So a beautiful, chaotic game by the world champion, and Anish Giri was the victim in the game.